Hey, my name's Taryn with The Remote Yogi, and today I'm diving into one of the topics I don't really talk about too much, and that's relationships. So about a couple months ago, I had sent out an email to my email list about the 3 lessons I had learned about love in the past year. So I've been traveling with 50 other people throughout the world and had to create new friendships with a bunch of strangers. And I also established a new relationship along the way. So a lot going on. I had to learn very quickly how to establish new ideas around relationships and love, whether that's friendship or in a partnership like I have now. So I wanted to give you my 3 lessons that I shared in that email, but since then I've also thought of 2 more lessons that are just as important. So I've got 5 lessons today that I've learned about love over the last year and a half or so. So number 1, somebody else can't complete you. So I know in popular culture we say a lot of things like, oh, you complete me, you're my other half, or you're my better half even. And these concepts are actually really damaging. These are the kind of concepts that we use to create codependency, where we really think that we have to rely on this other person to fulfill some part of us that might be missing, or we use them as our source of happiness. Now, we can see where this wouldn't work out, because when you're relying on somebody else for your sense of happiness, you're putting a ton of pressure on them to perform for you, and no relationship can ever be done well when we're setting up those kinds of strong, heavy expectations. Number 2, love is about giving, not receiving. Now, this is a hard one for a lot of us because we usually have the idea of, well, what am I getting out of this relationship? Whether it's a friendship, a business partnership, or with your significant other. But that's not a healthy way to go about things. Tony Robbins says this perfectly. He says that people today have this perspective or an expectation that the highest standards they hold is not for themselves, but for their partner. They expect more out of their partner than they expect out of themselves. Now, how fair is that? How can we expect more from our partner than what we can contribute to the table each day? We can establish healthier relationships when we set the example, when we set the tone by saying, I'm going to give this everything I have. I'm going to try to bring my best self to the table each day and not hold the other person to these high standards that we're not holding for ourselves. This is all about taking ownership for what you're bringing to the table each day, and stop criticizing and judging the other person without first taking a look back and seeing where you could be doing better or contributing more. Number 3, and this is a big one for me, love is not possessive. So we have this idea that when we are with somebody else, or even a best friend or a partner, that they are ours, or we have some kind of ownership over them. And, we say this a lot as well, very casually, like, oh, he's mine, or, whatever, and it's very casual, but we start to create this dialogue that sounds very controlling, and eventually we can trick our minds into actually being controlling. So you don't ever want to be that person in a relationship who's holding your partner back from the things that they want in their life because you're afraid of letting them go. You're afraid of expanding. You're afraid of them being able to wander off and do their own thing because you might lose them. Listen, I know going through heartbreak is hard. I get it. But one of the biggest things that I've learned over the last couple years is that I cherish whatever time I get with somebody. If there's somebody who comes into my life and they make a profound change, they bring me a ton of happiness, I'm grateful for even a moment of time with them. So if they end up needing to go their own way, or life just happens and we have to separate, that's okay, because I was so grateful for the time we got to have together that I'm not clinging on to them and not letting them live their life. If I really care about the other person's happiness, sometimes I have to let them go, even if that just means, hey, I'll see you in a couple months after your solo trip, and you just give each other space. Or you say, hey, honey, I know that you want to go do that thing for a month, and it's going to be hard for us to be apart, but go and do it. Stop being afraid of letting your partner go and explore themselves and become the best version of themselves, because when they can be the best them, you guys get to be the best couple, and you can't do that when you're holding each other in a box. Number 4, love is really all about respect. So I am one of those people who love really easily. So for me, saying I love you, finding love in friendships and relationships is not very hard for me. What I notice is more important for friendships and relationships that last long term is that I respect somebody. And this is really important because when you respect somebody, you truly believe in them, which means you believe in their decisions even if you don't agree with them. So, of course, there are times where me and my friends don't have the same opinion on things. Of course, there are times when me and my significant other are not on the same page with things. But here's the thing. I value his opinion so much, and I respect him as a human, that I know I've got to let him do his thing regardless of how I feel about it. Listen, I know my boyfriend is a good person, so I'm not worried about him making a decision to go against that because I truly respect him and believe in who he is as a person. So if he's going to go against something that I believe in, I don't think it's because he's a bad person or because he's not fully respecting me, but he's just living in his truth. And when we can have that kind of opinion and complete respect and trust in the other person, that gives you so much room to explore who you are within the relationship. And last but not least, number 5, you've got to really love yourself. Now, I know we hear this all the time, so it probably is one of those things you roll your eyes at because, of course, you've got to love yourself before somebody else can love you. Yeah, we talk about this all the time, but we have to fully believe it. So when I am feeling a little bit uncomfortable with who I am or I'm not feeling solid in my self-love, I'm going to have a lot more insecurities. And when I have more insecurities, I put those on my partner. I'm constantly worried about what he's thinking about me. I'm constantly bringing up my insecurities in a way that puts it on him. I'm going to do this with friendships too. When I feel insecure about myself, I'm constantly doubting whether my friends believe in me or whether my friends are actually friends with me because they want to, or if there's some alternative motive. You know, all these thoughts that come up, kind of the anxious brain that goes crazy. That's our insecurities coming out to play. When we can truly love ourselves and honor and respect the flaws within us and the different aspects of our personality that we don't love, but we can learn to accept, that's when we can really bring our best self to the table because we're not constantly in this state of worry that the other person is going to see our flaws or leave us for some crazy reason that we've made up in our brain. And I'm sneaking in one last little thought here. Gratitude is one of the best things you can do for relationships, whether they're with coworkers, with your family, with your significant other, or with your friends. The more we can show gratitude for the people in our lives that we love and respect, the more we're able to embody better relationships because we're constantly coming from a place of joy and love and honor, and sharing that gratitude with somebody else is going to make their day, and it makes us feel good too. So of course that joyride is going to expand. Thank you so much for watching today. I would love to know in the comments below what your biggest love lessons have been. What do you think about the ones I shared, and do you have any feedback for me, maybe something that didn't sit well with you? I'd love to discuss it. So comment down below and let's continue the conversation. See you next week.